Welcome to Art is Human, a podcast where we explore the artistic journey, one unique and everyday perspective at a time. We'll talk about where we've been and what we've accomplished, where we are right now, and what we're looking forward to. Whether you're already a seasoned pro, or you're still trying to find your voice in medium, this podcast is for you. Be reminded that by the very definition of art, your humanity makes you an artist, and art does come in many forms. I'm your host, Stef Sharky Schultz, with 15 plus years of expertise across multiple market verticals and creative ventures. Without further ado, let's dive in and get inspired.
Alan and I first connected at Emerald Knights Games and Comics in Los Angeles back in 2017. Since then, he has been a shining light of showing up and consistently putting his work out there. It has been an inspiration to me and many others. It's been an adventure. We talk about solutions, inspirations, processes, revelations, and aspirations. So dive in with us and learn what it's like faring the high seas of independent publishing. I will say also that we had no technical issues during the call, but afterwards, there seemed to have been some audio corruption issues, so we did get a little bit behind on editing. Some of the dates have already passed. Alan will be at the Soul Comics Con on June 28th, coming up here at the Barbara Morrison Performing Arts Center. For those of you in LA, it's on 4305 Degnan Boulevard. And not only will Alan Carter be there, but also some of our heroes will be there. If you're in the area, go check them out.
All right, welcome to Art is Human. This episode, we have Alan Carter of Carter Comics. He's always posting really fun stuff. And I've got to ask you, oh my gosh. Okay, first things first. Tell me about the Mongoose character, where the inspiration for the Mongoose came from, because he's so cute.
Wow, that's like this long and winding story. It's actually a more complex story than some of my other characters. He was supposed to be a mascot for the bus company where I grew up in Hawaii. That's how I had pitched him. Long story short, I was actually trying to get on the campaign for a person who was running for mayor, who had been mayor before. He's kind of famous. And, I sent him some bus art and he kind of liked it. He actually called my house at the time. It was really weird. And he actually said, hey, you should call the bus company. They might have, they have an art department. Maybe they have something for an artist. So I talked to the art director there and he's like, yeah, we're thinking we don't have a mascot for our company. We've been around for so long. Do you want to come in and come up with some ideas? And the minute I was talking to him, I was like, well, Hawaii has the gecko. That's kind of what they usually mention, but they also have the mongoose. That was brought in from the English, around late 1800s or early 1900s, but it's kind of become a part of the culture and people kind of accepted it, but no one has really used it for anything. So I'm like, oh, that would be a good mascot. But unfortunately, I had to finance it more on my end. There was a lot of expectation for me to just kind of produce it, which I knew nothing about. I was really young when I did it. And I just said, well, maybe it's not going to work that way. But I held on to it till I moved to LA and I was doing conventions and I had my other two books at the Cosmic Force and Damn Tourist. I had nothing for kids. So I decided, you know what? The Mongoose thing could be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because it's a comic strip character. And at a comic strip of him catching the bus like a figure of speech, I'm like, oh, there you go. Let's have him do figures of speech. So it started as a comic strip collection. Then after the first one, I decided, oh, why don't I do a little game on Facebook and it started out, I did it every Monday because I had all these figures of speech that I didn't even think
Monday.
of. So I was like, yeah, I'll just do the Mongoose Monday. It's I have plenty of material for it. 4 years into that, I was, either, not that I didn't I ran out of ideas. It's just that there are other things I was working on. So I had to
Yes.
kind of either stop for a while or trim it back. So at this point, I'm doing the first of every Monday.
What was your first artistic endeavor? And how did you first go about getting into it? I know it was kind of a double question there, but.
Wow, I think it goes definitely with conventions and just trying, how to get in. When I moved to LA and it took me a while, I went to San Diego Comic-Con and all that. And I did talk to artists there and how they got it. And
Yeah.
at that point, it seemed like a really daunting task when they talked about, obviously the price and, where to get where to get your books printed and everything that was involved in it. And it wasn't until I actually tried to just put, just some books up in stores that I just, printed, for really cheap, just in comic
Yeah.
book shops. And it was actually one of the comic book shop owners that actually had said, oh, there are some other shows that you could do, that are a little bit, less expensive, just kind of to get your feet wet. So that
Awesome.
was like
Right.
some really good advice. But then at the same time, when my coworkers had his comic out, we were both artists, and he was going to do a show called Anime Expo. So he had the table with another person who actually had anime figurines. So she brought in the customers, and then,
Nice.
they could look at some other things at the table. And even before that, we had to find out where to get our stuff printed. So we found like an online printing place, and we got our things set up. We got business cards. We barely had like a setup because it's like, hey, it's our first convention. We're not sure what's going to happen. And I sold like a couple of books, but I know it's mostly to the parents of the kids who came by, because the kids wanted anime characters. And then the parents are just like, I don't know. They're just kind of looking around waiting for them. Like, oh, what's this other stuff? It's like totally different. So they would like buy from us, because he had a monster comic and then I had my sci-fi comic. So
Cool. Right.
that was just a great experience. Now, I will say that was a long time coming from
Yes, sir.
just as a kid doing my own comics. A lot of it came from, Saturday morning cartoons, like the old, like the first Spider-Man X-Men cartoons. And
Yeah.
my dad had a comic collection, and all that came together. I'm like, oh, also I was taking this, writing course in first grade. So they had us like kind of write our own stories. So
Oh,
I
that's
started just
cool.
writing. They said, oh, just write a story about what happened to you. And so I wrote about like, the first dog we got. And I was like,
That's
like
awesome.
6, 7 years old. And then, so that came together with like, oh, well, I like storytelling. I write about just, random stuff, dreams, or what happened to me during the week. I like all these superheroes. Like, I'll make my own characters. So I was 8. I did like my first 10 comics, just construction paper. And I would, show it to my friends in school, and they liked it. And I just kept going because I was just so motivated, so energized, and so passionate about it. So I would keep adding to it. By the time I got to high school, I was actually writing, deeper characters and bigger storylines, rather than, as a kid, I'm more about, oh, what does a costume look like? What are the abilities? As I'm in high school, I'm just like, oh, well, so what's this character about? Like, oh, where did he come from? Does he have like family and everything like that? The, and just the evolution to that was, it was just when I look back, it's just such a great experience just to see like where that started and where the other books came from, because they were all modified about the same time when I was around 19, 20 years old, like the 3 books that I'm doing now. It's just that one was just like earlier was more of like a lighter version. That was the Cosmic Force. It was more of like a Fantastic Four type of story, more happy-go-lucky. And then later it turned into more like an X-Men story. But everything about it, about the whole experience was cool. Like just looking back on it and all the people, all the connections I made, you know, that experience, just getting into a convention
Yeah.
and, meeting all these people and becoming part of the comic community, then that just tied back into like, oh, that's where I started all those years ago at 8 years old, like in third grade, during those books, and like look where it is now.
Full circle moment. That's so cool. I actually can relate because I was drawing Mr. Guy, that goofy character I made since I was like 4, and he was always this little tulip-looking guy with a little party hat on. It had a little bit of a tragic backstory. Anyway, it's interesting because I would create calendars for myself as a kid in books like you did. I would make little books. And I'd show them to friends and family, and uh, he would just, I would make like I said, calendars with like each month. It was a different photo, like a different picture. So it was just interesting. And then yeah, I didn't really come back to it again until I was in my 20s, honestly. I know I was wanting to meet people, that's for sure. And it's that is what really gets you in comics, is the community and the connections that you make that make it really, really worthwhile. So yeah, you'd been drawing. You do everything from scratch yourself. The lettering, drawing, character design, the writing, all that. If I said that twice, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
Lettering,
one man show.
writing. Yeah. That's really cool. One-stop shop. That's really awesome. Who did you, if you don't mind me asking, who'd you end up going with for your printer?
So I went with Kablam Digital Printing.
Get out of
So,
town, you
yeah.
too? Oh my gosh, I went with Kablam too. Back when I first met you, we might have talked about that. So tell me more. That's cool.
Yeah, there was another printer we're gonna go with. I think they were linked with Amazon because that's when my coworker and I were gonna do that first convention.
Yeah.
So I think the only reason is just because the process was because it was for the first time that print shop at Amazon, the process was just way too daunting. Like it was really tough. And then we went to Kablam and there's like, oh no, you can just drop your files in here. And at the time they were
Everything
doing
easy.
they're doing PDF previews of your book, at least your cover. And that was really important for us, like because we hadn't professionally printed anything before. So to see, oh, we get to see what it looks like. I mean, it's a JPEG, but still, like it's, you get something. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. The most important thing was that there was no particular limit of books. You could print one if you want. And that was very helpful
Oh my
because it
gosh,
wasn't this big
right.
distributor where it's like, oh, you need like a minimum like 500 books. I'm like, well, I can't really do that in my first outing, but I can just print one. Awesome. Especially when it comes to like trades.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I find like a mistake in it. I'm like, oh, thank goodness I only ordered one.
Oh my gosh. Those MOQs, man, they'll get you. I hate minimum order quantities. I didn't remember that when it came to Kablam. But like that's amazing. Is that still the case with them? Are they still when was the last time you printed? How long has it been since you last printed, if you don't mind me asking? Because it's been years for me.
It was probably last fall because I had like 2 shows left to do and I was running low
Yes,
on
sir.
inventory. So yeah, they're still doing it. They don't do the PDF preview, but it worked out to the point where I had been with them for so long and they had such a good track record that, it didn't really matter. I was like, look, I'm sure it'll be fine. It's been fine in the past. If I had been starting maybe like a year or maybe 2 years ago, that might be kind of tough because I'd be more, worried about how things were going to look and I didn't, get that preview. But yeah, that's really the only thing. They used to do trading cards, but not anymore. Because I tried to do trading cards for my characters.
Really? Trading cards?
Yeah, I think it was in like at least they stopped maybe 2016 or 2017.
Wow. Okay. You've been doing that longer than I had been. My foray into that was in 2017. So you'd been working since before that. That's cool to know. Well, who knows? Maybe it'll be back by popular demand someday. No telling. That's really great. That's really cool. I appreciate you sharing. So that was started with an idea and wanting to create a community around comics, your artistic passion that had gone back to childhood. So, okay, yeah, what have you been working on recently that excites you the most? I know you said that you'd printed last fall because your inventory was low. What's your roster looking like this year?
So for right now, in terms of not just like books, but also like shows that I'll exhibit at, my main focus as far as projects go happens to be ending my Cosmic Force series. So I'm doing a 2-part finale. So the first, because it's issue 7 and 8 that I'm going to put together on a trade when it's done. So issue 7 is done. I actually finished that December of 2023. Now I'm doing the coloring for issue 8, and I always do them in 10. So like if I pencil 10 pages, I'll ink 10 pages, I'll color 10 pages, and then I'll just kind of keep it going. And then, so I'm at like I'm at actually 40 pages for the Cosmic Force finale. Originally when I wrote the script, it was going to be like about 103 pages because there's so many things I have to wrap up.
That's
What will probably
cool.
happen is I might knock off 10 pages just because
Mm.
what I write, I want to just write as much as I can. So that way I'm never at a problem where I don't have enough, I have too much, and then all I can do is I just have to cut things that aren't necessary. But if I don't have anything, then it's like, oh great, now I have to add something where I'm going to put this. So that's really the big thing, because this will be the first story that I've ever ended. And the reason I did it was because this was during the pandemic when we weren't
Yes.
doing a lot of shows. I had to kind of, reevaluate, who was buying what, because it was very tough before the pandemic because I had all these books and I would have them set up like on a shelf and they'd be kind of mixed up. So some people either they had trouble kind of looking to see which series was which, or sometimes between shows, one person, I might get more sales of Cost of Force on one show, the next
Hmm.
show it's Damn Tourist. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I
if
get
that
what you
happens,
mean.
yeah, back and forth, it's like, oh, great. Now I'm not sure what people really want because I'll get burned out eventually. So I have to decide which one I'm going to focus on. But what
You
happened
are
was
so
like,
smart.
yep,
Yeah.
it was the fact that I kept the pandemic was just like, in a good way, I could look back and just say, okay, for the last couple shows I was doing, you know, what was the difference? Like, was there more of a shift between Down Tourist and Cosmic Force rather than back and forth? And I think the last maybe 3 shows I did, a lot of people bought Down Tourists. And based on that, I was like, okay, you know what? Let me focus on that, but let me get Cosmic Force and a proper ending. So what I decided to do is not only do that, but also work on issue 7 of Damp Tourist because that's more popular of the two. So I kind of go back and forth. So I have 20 issues, not 20 issues, 20 pages colored of issue 7, which is taken because they go to different places. So they're
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
they go to South Dakota for Mount Rushmore and the Sturgis Biker Rally. So
Cool.
that's
I
gonna be
remember
like
that.
36
Yeah.
pages. It should be done hopefully by summer. I
Well,
want
that's,
to at
oh,
least
I'm
have
so
that one
excited.
done. I want to have both done, but I'll probably have that one done first.
I'm rooting for you. That's awesome. I'm so excited. And wow, that's really cool. Have you ever done like a national tour, or have you mostly stayed in California? I mean, that would be good enough. But
I did my
nationals,
first
yeah.
out of state show. I guess technically my first one was Vegas. I mean, although it's easy because it's just, like 6 hour drive,
Yes, sir.
just up to
Yeah.
15. But that was the first one where I had to like, deal with like, special permit like for taxes because it was a different state and all that.
Oh
And
my gosh, I remember that.
but at
Yeah.
least
Oh,
driving was fine. I was like, oh, it's just like any other show. It's just farther. I just take whatever I want.
yeah,
The
yeah.
first show I flew to was Awesome Con in DC in 2019. That was tricky. Now, my sister actually lives in Virginia, so I could stay with her. But
Nice.
a lot of it was figuring out, okay, how am I going to ship everything? So I actually
Yeah.
asked a lot of my friends just on Facebook, who, the creators, like, oh, I know you travel to shows, like, do you ship it? Do you take it on the plane with you? And it was 50-50 after I asked
Yeah.
people.
Yes. Oh,
In
I
the end, I
remember
was
that.
like, I got to fly it because I'm too much of a control freak
Yes, sir.
and I want everything in the same place. I'm not going to feel like going to the UPS to pick it up, or even if it's the hotel and everything, and oh, maybe I sell enough to where I don't have to ship that many back, or maybe I don't have to ship any back because I sell out. I'm like, nah, let me just break it up in my suitcase. So I'll take a couple of books in my, check baggage, some in my carry-on, which luckily it's a personal item. I could just put it underneath the seat. It's like it's that small because I don't
Haha.
like having to deal with the overhead bins.
No, I'm so
Yeah.
horrible.
The banner has to be checked out because I like
Yes,
really
sir.
big banners and it's not going to fit in that bin. So that's one of the 2 check bags. It still
Makes
worked
perfect sense.
because it was only like 3 items. It was just like the banner bag, suitcase, personal item. I still had like a hand free. So if I'm looking for the lift at the airport, it's like, oh, okay, it's totally fine. So it wasn't too like cumbersome because of course, I'm flying alone with all this stuff.
Right. It's I know all about that too. You are not you are not alone in traveling alone. Yeah. There was one case I got it shipped to Emerald Knights. That was cool. That was easy. That was the convention I met you at, obviously.
Yeah, that was July 2017.
That was fantastic. You were like,
Thanks.
when I say like the people were awesome, like the people that I connected with there have pretty much stayed connected this whole time. But it's right. You're right. It's very limited sometimes, and otherwise you're having to put it in a suitcase. And that works too. I guess it just depends on the situation, and you make a couple of phone calls. You know where you stand pretty quickly. Hey, can I ship it to this hotel? No, I can't. Okay, well, let's see if we can ship it to the comic book store. Is there going to be a point of contact who would receive that for me? I was really friendly with a lot of the comic book store owners. I'm still in touch with Amanda from Emerald Knights. I think she moved on to a couple other places, and I'm not sure what she's doing now. She'll be the next one I have to catch up with, Alan. Did you meet, do you remember her, Amanda?
Yeah, I think because I was called Support the Independents. That was the name of the event.
Yeah.
I think I did the one in 2016. I did one earlier. So I may have met her there because that was the second one I did. They had one, I think, in 2015, and I was just attending because I just heard about it because I was maybe like 10 minutes away. I live 10 minutes away from there.
Awesome.
So I think when I just attended, like I just walked over there, there's like a little bike path that goes by there. And one of my friends, like who also does like a podcast, and they live down the street from me. So I went to support them. And then I think Amanda may have come by, and I was like, oh, there's like, oh yeah, we go to like all these conventions. Like I met them at WonderCon, and I met so many people through them. So everyone kind of like knew each other through that. And I actually
So
did a
cool.
show in Tulare, which is near Bakersfield, with
Oh,
a
yeah.
guy when I was attending another person I met at a show in some comic shop in Culver City. So yeah, there's so many of these like weird connections where he
The
even asked like, oh, do you want
serendipity.
to go? And like, oh yeah. So, we split a hotel room and did the show, and the show was free. That's kind of how they got everybody out there because I had never
Awesome.
been to that area. It was just basically farmland, but a
Yeah.
bunch of people came by.
What's the traffic like lately, if you don't mind me asking? Because it's cool you could walk to that one comic book shop because it was close to you. Are you still in that area?
Yeah. Just like North Hollywood, Burbank area.
Yeah, I love that
Yeah,
area. I
it's
love
really
NoHo.
nice. And I've
Yeah.
been, I don't know, and have my car, but even in my last job, which was actually in Glendale, which was about 7 miles, the first 6 months I was working there, I drove back and forth, and partly because we were working late. So I'm like, oh, okay.
Ah,
And
yeah,
then
you don't want to be
afterwards,
out.
that kind of thinned out. And then they started, because on this side, there's a subway that runs like, from North Hollywood to downtown. So I started using that a little bit more and just saying, oh, I'll go downtown and check it out and, get used to it. And then they're running an express bus from North Hollywood to Glendale to Pasadena. And it took about the same time as it would for me to drive. And I was really getting irritated from driving because
And
of
the
the
gas.
traffic and a lot of other people on the road that are just swerving around at the last minute. I'm like, I would just rather just jump on this bus and not deal with that. Plus, it
Smart.
could take the carpool lane because I'm driving myself, so I can't legally use it. So it's just
Right.
less stress. So it went from like doing that once a week to like, oh, I'll do it 3 times a week. And after a while, it's like, yeah, I'm just going to do this all week.
That was smart. When it lines up, it's nice when it lines up. And that is so relatable. That's really cool. We're running to catch up in Texas. And I'm not from here and I don't know how long I'll be here, but like the transportation between cities leaves much to be desired here. I just gotta say. Um, yeah. We want a high speed rail or something, but, because it takes a long time to put these things in place. But I don't know, I feel like California was a little bit more, I don't know, more connected, I guess. I definitely
Yeah, they're really
Amtrak.
trying with, well, first with Brightline West, which is going to go out to Vegas. So it's going to connect Vegas with
Oh,
Rancho
great.
Cucamonga.
Ah,
People kind of
cool.
wanted it to get all the way to LA. I'm like, well, Rancho's not that bad because originally they were going to start in Victorville. I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? I can't use that. I might as well just drive. Cool if you live in Victorville, but not for me.
It reminds me of the, what is it, Pawn Stars, where he's, the best I can do is, that trope. Anyway, that's funny. So is there anything like a dream project or medium that you've been wanting to explore next, but just life and dealing with the immediate concerns and everything is delayed, perhaps, or something that you're looking forward to someday?
Man, it's always been my goal, but it's been just kind of tough to get to it, partly just because it's something new, and with comics, once I see like, a lot of success with it, then I'm just like, oh, maybe I should stay with that. It's always been looking for either animation or live action for either Damn Tourist or Cosmic Force. And it was to a point where like, okay, I know each one, it depends, like each one could work with the other. So let's say I always felt Damn Tourist could be like a really good, animated series at the time.
Yeah.
Like, at the time, Cartoon Network, when they had like a lot of stuff that would have worked for it. It would have
Yeah.
worked for like an Adult Swim.
Yeah.
Cosmic Force definitely just would be live action.
That's
I do
cool.
remember when I was in college, I collect, of course, bought Wizard magazine back in the day, and they would have the casting call section for all these, oddly enough, like comic films, most of which later got made like years later, but at the time, 2000s, you didn't have that much outside of, X-Men, Spider-Man yet.
Right.
And I did one for my characters, and I picked like, I forget who I had, but it was all based on like, oh, that actor looks like this character, basically.
That's cool.
But it was a start.
Boy, that's really cool, though. And with AI, I mean, there's some good things and there's some bad things about it. I know it's a little bit of a rogue topic.
Yeah, it's a tough call. Like, I'm
It
still
is.
looking for the section of AI that is, because the thing is, like, with a lot of technology, like, it works, but a lot of it is like, it's a helper tool, which is
Yes.
great, especially like for a lot of tedious work, and then some kind of complex work, but just bits and pieces of it. But obviously, it's not something that you would just want to spread everywhere, because that's kind of the issue. You find there's this new tech, and then people are like, oh, well, let's just use it for everything. Let's just replace all these human people. Like,
It's
no, that's
so,
not how it works out, because you do that and then you lose a lot of the creativity. You're not going to
yes.
get that from the machine. You're going to get like the technical work done, but anything creative, I mean, even like for audiobooks, like, do you want to listen to like a real person or a robot?
We're on the same page. I believe that, there's been a joke too going around. It's just like, I want AI to do my dishes for me so I can create art, not create art so I can get replaced. There's a fine line between it is a great tool, you know, and then on the other hand, if it keeps replacing people, who's going to be left to buy the stuff? You're saving all this money, corporate America, but who's gonna buy the product? Because you took all the jobs away. So there's got to be a happy middle ground, and I believe that we're going to reach that point very soon. It's going to level out, I hope. I was going to say, and you may have already answered some of this earlier too, but the next question was, what challenges have you faced in your artistic journey? Maybe unexpected.
Oh, yeah, other than AI, and definitely, well, really the biggest one was the pandemic.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
it couldn't get any bigger than that. It was such a shock. I mean, I'll just say that up until it happened, I must have had like maybe 8 or 9 shows lined up. And I was like, oh man, like 2020, and I know a lot of people are kind of looking at that now, like that, man, 2020 is going to be my year. And this is like, January. And I did
Yes.
a show in Pasadena, which was okay. I did another one in Simi Valley, which was a little bit better. It was their first show, but I was actually waiting for a show. It's called Amazing Comic Con Aloha back in Hawaii. And that was the first show I got to do back home. And I hadn't been back home in about 8 years at that point.
Wow.
So I booked that show in July of 2019. I got the hotel and all that, and, paid for the table. I got the rental car.
Nice. Yeah.
And the only thing I was worried about was like, oh yeah, I gotta like get my real ID, because at the time they were gonna set that into motion, which ended up moving. And
They still
you know,
harass me about it.
yeah,
I've got it, but on both IDs. Haha.
but that show, because it was in February, like late February, and
Yeah.
it was a great show. But at the same time, I look back at it now, like there were already the signs. I mean, I'd already heard things, about COVID, and there were some people because you get a lot of people from Japan who come over to Hawaii because there are a lot of like Japanese like businesses there.
That's
So
cool.
on the plane they had masks and all that, and I took one, but it was like, you know, obviously it's second nature now, but it was a total foreign concept, so it's something I never used. I think I used like hand sanitizer more, but you know, it's a great
Yes.
show. It was the first show where I sold out of everything that I took,
Nice. Oh my
and
gosh.
I took 50 books. It was just damn tourist. It was 10 issues of each book. So I had 5 issues. And at the time, it was the third show that I flew to because after AwesomeCon, I did Denver Comic Con, and that was just okay. So after that, I'm like, oh, I don't have to take this much stuff. Like if I take, you know, yeah, 50 books like all together, I'll be totally fine. So I take that like fits on the plane and everything, and it's so much fun because the first day, I think by the end of the first day, Friday, I was almost sold out of issue 1, and then the next day, probably 20 minutes after they opened, I was sold out of all of issue 1. And then issues, I think 2 and 3 went later on Saturday. And then Sunday issues 4 and 5. And after, like by noon, I was completely sold out. And then I had a panel with these creators from the Hawaii Comic Book Alliance, who the head of the alliance was actually my former uh, art instructor back in college that I reconnected with. So
Cool.
the only bad thing was just that, oh man, I wish you had like a book to like show everybody, you know, up at the panel, like, oh, that's a cool thing to have, because I never had that issue before where I sold out everything. I mean, I can bring my sample up.
The one time I sold
Yeah.
everything, then I.
So to do
Wow.
that and have like a very, very light suitcase when I came back.
I was
But
thinking about that actually. I was
yeah,
like, wonder how light that suitcase. Why did he fill that? This is, and I'm listening to what you're saying, but like in the back of my brain is, and I'm thinking, I wonder if he bought stuff to oh well, I sold all these books, now I can fit souvenirs or you know, I'm like, what? So yeah,
yeah.
it was just
Actually,
lighter on the way home.
the only thing I bought was a pair of slippers, and that was like the day before the show.
Get the heaviest pair of slippers. No, I'm kidding. Oh, that's so cool.
But I will say
Wow.
after that, I did one more show, and that was San Diego Comic Fest, and that was really when it hit, because when I was at that show, I was, you know, befriending the booth person next to me, and between customers, we kept looking at our phones, and either I would say or he would say, because they started canceling shows at that point, because this was like March, like the first weekend in March.
Well, that's when
Like-
stuff
Like
really.
March 6th to 8th, because the following Wednesday, Thursday, they were shutting, like NBA had stopped and all that, and a lot of sporting events were done. But on that Friday, they're saying, oh, South by Southwest got canceled, and then
I remember
Emerald
that.
City got canceled, and we were reading all of this on there. It's like, dude, what is going on? And then the week after that, like that's when, at the time at least, I was still working. They sent us home remotely. Some people just thought, oh, we're going to get laid off. It's like, dude, I don't know. I mean, hopefully not. But they at least kept us on 2 more years. But
Wow, that's cool.
that was when, yeah, that was the only thing. Like, my day job at the time was going really well, like, because we were doing like an educational app. We were doing quality assurance for an educational app. So
Cool.
because schools were remote, I mean, we got a lot of business even before that, but our site got like overloaded. Like our site crashed like
Oh,
that
wow.
first week when all the kids were out of school because everyone was using it.
Yeah, they weren't quite up for that challenge server wise. How long did it take them to upscale their server count?
I want to say it might have been another month because they were doing
Good
so,
turnaround.
yeah, so many things just to keep up with like what ended up being this new normal for us, because, you know, working from home, only a couple people were like working up like in the office, just people in like the computer room,
Yes,
but everything was going well there. But on the comic side, we're just like, oh, what does everyone do? Because no one can do shows right now. So that's when I did virtual cons, and 2 friends of mine started doing a podcast, more of like a Zoom community where every
That's cool.
Saturday from it's like 10 to 11, like Pacific time, you know, we would just discuss the comics industry. So it started like late that March, and people were so happy. It's like, oh my God, because a lot of people just missed each other.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
that's how we would meet. Like the only time we would see each other are at conventions. If we had time to go out to eat afterwards, maybe. But after that, like Man, I mean, at least we'll see each other on Zoom. There are some people that I met on Zoom, and then maybe 2 years later, I finally met them in person.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's nice when that can work out. That's really fun. It's awesome.
But yeah, that's the biggest challenge of all, and it still is because people are they're still trying to navigate like how conventions are because some of them have come back, and I'll just say that it's not to the degree of before the pandemic because shows aren't really that packed. I mean, outside of, yeah, Comic Con, and even with Comic Con, I heard from people just saying, it's not as packed as it used to be. And other people are just like, you know what? Maybe I don't want to be in crowds as much anymore because a lot of
Yeah.
people like they would get sick of Comic Con now.
Yeah. Wow. It really did change the world. And I know good things came from it, and I know bad things came from it. And it's just the luck of the draw, I guess. I hope that people will continue to recover, as you say, as we find this new normal. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. Wow. I guess, what are a few things that you are looking forward to right now?
But definitely looking forward, and these kind of go together. It's finishing the Cosmic Curse finale, and with that being done, doing my very first Kickstarter because I've never done a Kickstarter before.
What? Oh my gosh, tell me when it launches, because I will promo you. And just off the record here, I'm a couple months behind on putting episodes out. I had to take it from being once a week to, okay, we're going to be bi-weekly for a bit. So, like, let me know when you put that Kickstarter up, and if we could do a separate, like, recording, or a, hey, by the way, this was a great episode. He's doing a Kickstarter now. And then maybe the timing will work out where I can help promote when your Kickstarter launches. So I can time this episode to be released around that time so we can give you maximum elevation from what I'm able to accomplish, because I intend to work very hard to upscale this as quickly as possible. Still trying to get the day job secured. I just got laid off recently. So it's cool, but we're working, and I want to time it just right to where we can just, even if, I don't have as many followers as I want by then, I'm still going to promote it. Because my audience is loyal. Like, they tune in. So, like, I would really love to. When do you think you'll be launching the Kickstarter?
Probably summer. So let's say maybe not early July, maybe like a late June. Because I'm thinking like it would, if I just focus on, if I were to do that and just focus on Cosmic Force, I could probably get it done by that point.
Yeah.
Because now it's kind of deciding like, okay, that's really the big thing because as popular as Damn Tourist is with Cosmic
Yes.
Force, it's like I'm ending it. It's a big
Yeah.
trade. And I've actually put it off for so long just because Damn Tourist is doing so well. And I'm like, oh, I'm not sure. And then I'm like, okay, I'm ending Cosmic Force and it's got to be in a trade. I'm not going to be able to pay for a trade right now. So I have to do a Kickstarter. So it's like, okay, this has to happen. So I just have to so as I get closer, I got to like, put the steps into motion because I want to make sure like I do like a good promo video for it
Yes.
and everything to make sure that, people, they don't only know it's coming out, but I'm still trying to get like a new audience. So I need them to know like, this is actually who I am and my story. And like especially like, oh, why I should really pick this up, like how long this has been going on and, the earlier issues to like, get acclimated with the characters. So that's really the first one I want to do. I may do one from Damn Tourist later, but I know I need to do one for Cosmic Force.
I might have an idea. Now, we would have to look at the cost of this and everything. Have you tried printing with Amazon? Because let me show you a journal I created. Give me 1 second. So this is a journal that I created from scratch. And it has binding, as you can see. Let's see. Yeah. It's Honey Bumble and Friends.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you saw, but I got a brand. It was a cartoon character brand called Honey Bumble and Friends. And anyway, that's a story for another day. But I was trying to create some journals and some products that would be, there was like journals were blowing up. According to YouTubers, people were selling thousands and thousands of journals on Amazon. So I designed journals and got on that bandwagon. But by the time I got there, I believe the market had reached quite a saturation there. But I'm just saying, like, this was a thing. And if there was like a story in here, like, I mean, you get an ISBN and all that. It's pretty cool. I think I had some unused ISBNs from Boker Identification Services. I bought like maybe 10 at a time. They gave you a deal or whatever. Have you bothered with barcodes and ISBNs? I can't remember.
Oh, I think I did one. Kablam started doing it, but it took a while. So I think some of the copies that I did reorders for, or at least titles I did reorders for, had barcodes. So, but like some of my earlier ones, I think I'm at the point where I did so many reorders, I think they now all have barcodes. But yeah, it took a while. So half of them had barcodes, the other half did.
It's cool. I don't know if the ISBN barcode matters as much. If you're selling them yourself, it shows anyway, and having so much success like you are. Like, I don't even know if it's even a big deal, but like for me, I wanted the barcodes just in case. So I did that from the get-go, but you don't fall for the 99-cent ones online because those have been reused about jillion times. Mine were clean, fresh, never used. So, but the reason I brought this up was because by the same token, you may be able to. It's very easy. Thank God. Because otherwise I'd be like, yeah, no, too much. But for me, I was like, get on there, create a PDF. Sometimes you can just upload page by page by page, just copy and paste every single page. Till I have like 200 pages or whatever, how many pages this is. And I just go through Amazon and I print it. I paid probably $6 for this, and I would sell it for maybe $10 or $12. When I start ramping that up again, I might go that direction. I'm just trying to do the eco-friendly thing too. So that's another subject for another day. But, in this case for you, I think maybe, when you go to get the graphic novel made, just compare pricing with Barnes & Noble, because they do their own printing, and Amazon, and they do their own printing, and obviously color, like you saw, the cover. I'm sure that the interior would be full color too. Was it? It's dark in here. Hold on. I printed this years ago, by the way, so I've got to really look at it here for a second. Yeah. Yeah, it's black and white. So, yeah, I think it depends. And if it's color, there's a price difference. But see if Kablam can beat it. But I was thinking about going with Amazon because you could just put it on demand right from your dashboard. You don't have to wait. So that's just an option. I don't want to take Kablam's business, obviously. Just do your price, comparison or whatever. But
Yeah, definitely. Because for the last book, I'm pretty much open to anything. Like if it can look like just something like spectacular and somebody else can do it better, yeah, I'm all for that. Just to say like, hey, this is what like the ending book looks like if it like really stands out. Because the first trades I did, like, just because I'm used to Kablam, I just did it through them.
there's something I want to show you. It has its own Amazon page. Okay, share. Let's see if it lets me share screen. There we go. Let me know if you could see this, Alan.
Yes.
That's cool. So yeah, this is the journal page, and this is where people can hit add to cart and buy it. I don't remember it being that much money, but that's fine. I'm not going to argue with that. A lot of time and effort went in. It's a thicker book, and it's got great artwork on it. Other people pay that much for journals that are half as good, so... Well, but anyway, what I'm saying is, like, you could come here as the customer and buy a bunch of these and sell them at a profit. Because you get your pricing, you get better pricing as the printer, as the creator. And then other people can come to this link and it's already on Amazon and they go and buy it. So you can direct people to the website and they can buy it wherever they are. They don't have to be at a show. You could have them scan a code. You could put it on I forget, do you have a website? I should have checked that.
Oh, actually, I just deactivated my website.
Good for you, though.
A lot of it was due to financial issues.
Yes, sir.
The more I looked at it, I was like, I don't get as much traffic on my website as I do, say, my Facebook page.
Follow the money.
I got to a point where, like, why do I even have this still? I think the only reason was because I would I would apply for pro badges for shows if I wasn't
Oh
exhibiting,
yeah. Yes, sir.
and they would want like, oh, links to your work. So it's just easier to just link them to my gallery on my website.
What do you
But
think
this time
about
I'm like,
Linktree?
yeah. But now I'm just like, well, for now, I'll just do like an album through Facebook for now until like I found another space for it. But other than that, like, there was just no reason to have it. And it was like, yeah, it was $25, but it was like, right now, that's like a lot. And
It's yeah, it is. It adds up.
yeah, and it's still just like, yeah, it's only 25, but still, like, now people are coming here. Half the time, if someone's looking at my work again, it's on my Facebook page. I'm like, I should just focus more on that.
Go where the money is. You just follow the money. I hope that helps, because like it's overrated to have a website. You know what happened to me the other day? You know what happened to me the other day? Apparently I got hacked. Yeah, no fun. Not fun. Not a fun experience. Yeah. One of the hosts write me and they're like, hey, one of your domains, it's got abusive content or blah, 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 and you need to take this down immediately. And I'm just like, okay, whoa, power down, big wheel. Lose the attitude. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not working on that brand right now. It's really basically just the domain, the parking space, and I'm redirecting it. So someone else hijacked it or something? Is that what's going on? And you would think I was talking to AI or something, the way I was getting these responses. They're just repeating themselves over and again and not giving any actual instructions. And I go to their website, and what do they have? Oh, they have all these robust services. Oh, what happens if your website gets hacked? Just pay $168 and we'll fix everything. I'm like, okay, yeah, so I could see you have a vested interest in my website getting hacked. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to wipe everything clean. We're going to transfer to the other host now. So bye. Thanks for nothing. So that's how I fixed that. But I'm telling you right now, like, you have a website, you got to worry about it. You're responsible. Even if some little turkey head comes and hacks it, that's just your problem now. So it's just like, oh, yeah. There's a lot going on right now. Life's hard enough. Let's make it simpler.
Thanks. I'll definitely check the Linktree out because I basically just need, you know, yeah, probably just like a small, maybe art gallery.
Yes,
Definitely
sir.
links to a lot of interviews I've done, just like this one, like, podcast interviews, radio show interviews.
That's so cool.
That was the other reason why I had the site. Like, I could post all that on there, and I had stuff back from like 2013 when I did my first few interviews.
Awesome.
I had to
my
double
gosh,
check
that's so
because
fun.
some of them like didn't work. Because sometimes like, oh wait, I haven't talked to the person in a while. Maybe they took it down, so I had to check it.
Yeah. Or your hometown. They say Hawaii, right? That's how they say it in Hawaii. They call it Hawaii.
Yeah,
Right?
a lot of the older people there, what they call a kupuna, like they'll pronounce it like
Yes.
that.
So I could say aloha and mahalo, and you would be like, yeah. I love it. I studied Hawaiian culture for a bit. I wanted to move there. You were born and raised there, right?
Yep. My parents
So
actually
cool.
moved there in the 70s. It was all just because they're both teachers. So they actually moved from Maryland to Hawaii, and only because
cool.
there's teaching jobs they couldn't find them in Maryland, and my uncle on my dad's side happened to be building houses out there, so they had someone to stay with. So all that kind of came together. My sister's already born, and then I was born there 3 years later. My sister was born in Denver.
Huh, right on. That's cool. That's interesting. Your family moved around a bit like mine did. That's really neat. I think it's cool. Can see multiple cities and just kind of, I don't know, variety's the spice of life. If I could ask one more question, because you've already actually nailed one of the questions I was going to ask, which was what was the next immediate project? And we were talking about the Kickstarter, and I'm so excited for you. And I'll be reaching out then, and I'll be looking for that on social media, because I want to help promote that. That's exciting. What advice would you give to aspiring artists trying to navigate their creative path?
Well, I'd say two things. Definitely number one, persistence, because that's the type of industry it is. That's the type of field it is. You have to keep working at it. If you're writing, you keep writing. If you're drawing, you keep drawing.
Yes.
The other is obviously, like we talked about like earlier, definitely building that community. And that, I know it's much easier now than it was when I was doing it because of social media. Like, and there are a lot of cheaper shows and events to do now, because both of those were kind of tough, because when I first started doing shows, there's like 2010,
Right
you had
on.
most of your big shows. You didn't really have like a lot of small shows. Like, no art fairs, anything like that, where like things were like maybe it might be like $50 or something to get a table, or sometimes maybe like 25, depending on like where you're at. But it was such a daunting task. Even if you did have the money, like maybe you feel like intimidated by it because it's such a big show, and you're like, man, this is a first show. Like, what am I gonna do? What if no one likes my work or anything? You kind of worry about that.
Yes,
So
sir.
now it's so much easier. So like the advice I can give, like for the community, it's just like, yeah, definitely hook up with people like on, Facebook and Instagram, and go to like these shows, and, connect with them through there, and just like, yeah, keep working on your craft. I mean, again, it's not really a practice makes perfect. It's just keep drawing. Yeah, that's
Just
it.
keep
Keep drawing.
drawing.
Because
Fantastic.
you also find your style when you do that, because everyone's going to have their own style. That's what's really good about it. Not necessarily, what looks the best. It's like, okay, what looks different from the other person? Say, okay, I know whose work that is, and I like that work, and I know that's what's important about it. Not, oh, this is really cool, because you don't really want, like, you can have like row of people who have the same type of art, but that's not really interesting. It looks nice, but you don't really get to know that person. I'm not going to know, like, who that person is like they're trying to like get like, someone's attention by like a certain style they think that they want. But it's just like, no, I want to hear more about you. Like, why did you, like that style? Why your characters kind of look like that, and you can have a story about it. Maybe it's like based on something in your life, and then you get to know the person. So yeah, what it's all about. Just building the community and keep drawing, keep writing.
Awesome. Solid advice. It's like you're saying, like they have that saying, the eyes are the windows of the soul. Well, by the same token, the art we create is a window into who we are. And it's just everyone brings their unique story to the table, and it's so stinking exciting when you get a community behind it, and it's just there's the synergy and the, like you said, those Zoom communities, and that's awesome. Do they still meet every once in a while, the Zoom group that started in COVID?
But yes, yeah, they still
I thought you
meet
said, yeah,
every Saturday,
right
and
on.
they've really ramped up this year. Unfortunately, with a lot that's been going on right now, especially it's affected the comics community. So we usually have like 6 to 8 people, sometimes 10. We've had the last couple of weeks, we had like maybe like 15, 16 people on the call.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and
Wow.
that's usually rare last year. Now it's like the last couple of weeks, it's just been like that. There's all these like new people.
It's wonderful. What a gift. It's great to see things take off. I'm just telling you, I'm trying, what we're trying to tell folks is put the work in. Like you've done all these years. Keep showing up. Keep putting the work out there. Thank you for being an inspiration. Cause like, I appreciate you so much. Not everybody can do what you're doing. I'm sure you know that. It's very
Yeah.
admirable.
I mean, when everything else is kind of down, like you always like, have my art, have my stories. Like even if that makes me feel down, I know I've worked on things before things got bad. So I'm like, well, I have to finish it.
You got to. Yeah. For me, I did want to finish my story, Mr. Guy. I was halfway through the third issue finishing that. And when I have the time, the free time, I'm gonna finish the book. And I'm gonna release it as a graphic novel. That's the plan. So it will be done one day. So I'm right there with you. I'm like, I believe in finishing what we start, if it makes sense and if it's feasible. But yeah, showing up looks different every day. So, yeah.
I will just say, like, probably another piece of advice is like,
Yes, sir.
especially if you're working on a project, just do a little bit each day,
Yes.
because I've fallen to that trap, especially when I was a little bit younger, like in school, where I was like, oh man, I need to finish like, the 5 pages today. I'm like, I got a bunch of other stuff to do. I don't know if that's gonna work. Like, no, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna stay up like 2 in the morning. I'm like, yeah, I could do that then. Maybe it might work, but not really that much anymore. So I'm like, look, if you could do half a
Take it out.
page penciling, that's fine. If you ink half a page, hey, if you ink a panel, like that's one thing. Just do another panel the next day. By the end of the week, you might have the page done. So whatever progress you could do, it works. And you can't beat yourself up over it.
Yes. I did want to ask because, and we touched upon this earlier. You said inking, you said drawing. You do everything by hand, don't you? Remind me, what's your process?
So I hand pencil ink and then I'll color digitally.
Same. Okay, then we have the same process. But like we do it by hand. We don't do it all in the computer. We do it something about the pen and paper. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean with the pencil, like I like to do like more of a sketchy style because I'm not sure of the lines that I want. And then once I ink, I'm like, okay, this is it. This is what it's going to look like. And it's one of those things where it's like, depending on what I'm drawing, I can look at it and just say, oh, that's just going to be a trace. And then others are like, I'm probably going to transform that mostly because I drew it in pencil. I went away, I went back. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't really like it. I'll change it.
That's cool. I would do that often too. Like, and I would construct entire pages in the computer just by putting different, like, oh, I did little cells, and I'm like, what if I rearranged them this way? And I just would build these different, like, yeah, it's cool, the freedom now. That's a neat process. Like, nothing is set in stone in the digital era. That's awesome. So, was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Just some of the shows I'll be doing for this year. So the one show I'm booked for so far is Pasadena Comic Con.
Pasadena Comic.
That was originally, of course, that would have been this past Sunday, but of course, with the fires that got
Yes,
moved
sir.
because it was at the
Yeah.
convention center there. So of course, they're still helping out a lot of the victims there, and they're using a lot of the areas in Pasadena to help with donations and things like that. So that's moved to May. That's going to be, I believe, May 24th. So that's Memorial Day weekend.
Wow. Right
So
on.
that's all set. There's some other shows while I'm not booked. They're shows I usually do. I'm just kind of waiting for them to send out applications. So there is the show I mentioned. There's a show in Anaheim. It's called Anacon at Anaheim Public Library, and that's a free
Cool.
show. That's usually in April. I believe that's like middle of April, so believe it's April 7th, it's either 16th or 17th. It's usually on a Saturday, and this year it's after WonderCon. That's a
Ah.
really fun show to do. What's really nice is that they actually shuttle people back and forth from a parking structure to the library because their parking is very limited.
Wow, okay.
And they'll have like a
Interesting.
food
Huh.
truck there. So even though it's a library, they treat it like a really important show. And I've never seen a lot of shows do that because after doing all these events, like, I kind of get interested in how they kind of put these together and what people, like to see if like, oh, there's a show that, are put together by people who kind of live in the area and they kind of know like, oh yeah, we kind of know the people in the area. So I know they're going to flock to the show because we have, this character or we have like, these types of foods or something, and they can like bring a crowd. So something like that to just have like a little shuttle, which people did use. It was really nice. And everyone was just like
Awesome.
so happy to be there. That's the best thing. Even if like the sales aren't okay, if you could just see people being happy, like that brings your spirits up. Like the worst show to be in is just one where as much as like they try, like you just can't get the traffic in because that kind of saps like a vendor's energy. Because if there's no one around, it's just like I can only talk to my booth neighbor for so long. And
Oh
they're
my
both like,
gosh. Yes. It gets awkward after a while. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Heard. You know. Oh man. And it's good to have good neighbors, but like when you're at a show and like, can you watch my table while I just like bio break? Yeah, that helps too when you got a good neighbor. But anyway, that's not always the case.
so
But anyway.
those two shows. The other show I mentioned that I usually do, it's an art walk in the Reseda area, which is about 10 or 12 miles west of where I am in North Hollywood, like in the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah.
And that's such a great show because it's an art walk and it's mostly arts and crafts, some jewelry. They'll have
Oh, okay.
independent bands there,
How fun.
obviously a beer garden, food trucks. I'm usually one of maybe two people that has comics out there.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
people will like flock to the booth and just say, "Oh, this person has comics there." Like I didn't even know because these are people who they didn't expect someone to have their own comics there, or they couldn't get to like a big show and they went to this one, which is free to go to, and they can walk to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes all the difference. Travel. We talked about that earlier. Oh my gosh, it makes a huge difference. Walking distance and sidewalks, I guess. I live in a neighborhood where they don't have sidewalks, and I'm just like, why would you not have sidewalks? LA is a lot more walkable.
Yeah, so most of the suburban areas are pretty walkable. Some are kind of better than others. Like I tend to like really wide sidewalks because we have a main street as a wide sidewalk. Very important because it's just a better walk. And if you're walking by things too,
Yes.
that makes it easier. Like you have like a shop, you don't have like, a bunch of parking lots, or you have like these long blocks because the area south of me is all more car oriented. So it is not fun to walk over there. Like you really feel that walk. And you're like, oh my God, I just want to turn around and go home.
Yeah. Especially on those summer days. Oh my gosh, August is, you start getting those text messages, hey, we're going to shut the power grid down, or you better turn some stuff off, or we're going to shut everything down. Like, okay. Turn your television
That's
off.
why I love this weather right now in January.
Yes.
Because it's only because for, it's cool for us. It's like it was maybe like 58 for a high. I'm like, I'm totally fine with that. I don't need to look forward to, July. I don't even want to know what that's going to be like.
No, I was in Los Angeles in 2022 working on The Bay, a soap opera, and we were filming at a hospital, and it was so hot that, we were all getting text messages about, please turn off any extra devices you have that you're not using, because we are in critical danger of the power grid failing. So that was like, is that an every year thing, or was that just that 1 year that I was there? I don't know.
I think it was that year, because last year it was actually fine. It wasn't nearly as hot, because I remember, because I didn't have to run my air past like 6.
Nice.
And the year before that, it was like, I don't want to have to do this, but it's just, so it's, there were some times, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, where our low was 83 and it was 1 a.m. I was like, that's not acceptable.
No.
It's not.
Wow. Better cut that out. What an amazing conversation, Alan. I really appreciate your time. Was there anything else any other shows upcoming that you wanted to talk about?
I think that was pretty much it. Those are the ones that I know of that I usually do. So any other ones,
cool.
Hopefully there'll be a happy accident. They just pop up like in the spring or so. But I think I have covered everything.
Exciting. What a great chat. Oh, thank you so much for your time. It was so good to catch up with you again.
You too.
Thank you, Alan. Have a fantastic evening. Stay awesome.
Bye.
And if you would appreciate the perspective of an award-winning brand designer, a fine artist whose work has been featured in galleries from coast to coast in the United States, a recording artist and singer-songwriter, a cult classic comic book creator, and a filmmaker with credits on projects with industry giants like Paramount, Visa, the BBC, and more, I would love to work with you. Book a consultation today, and let's find out what your art is.